Hello, this is Dr. Wong. Today we're going to cover a case study. It's the contents of an article that was published June 6, 2012 in the Arizona Republic. And the topic of the article is, an old-fashioned financial plan is sometimes the best and simplest approach. It's a case study, and let me give you the numbers. A couple, aged 58, came into my office. They decided to retire early. Between Social Security, disability for her, and a small pension for him, their total income was $2,500 a month. However, they were spending $6,000 a month. Now that's a deficit of $3,500 a month or $42,000 a year. Well, to search for a solution, they went to see a number of advisors. Luckily, they had inherited $600,000 because her mother had passed away. Let's talk about what other solutions the advisors had suggested to them. Well, one of them said, invest that money in a real estate investment trust. It's paying 7%. Well, that sounds pretty good. If you put $600,000 in at 7%, that's $42,000 a year, and it basically covers the deficit in terms of what they need to spend, that $6,000 a month. However, there's no inflation protection. And also, there's a negative to it. When you invest in a real estate investment trust, typically it's illiquid. Your assets are tied up for 7, 10, 12 years. And if we have a real estate crisis or recession like we have, what happens is that you've got more vacancy, lots of companies go out of business, and so the landlords have to lower the rent, or even worse, they can't rent it out. In terms of getting your principal back, you can't really get that back until the end of the real estate investment trust when they liquidate their properties. So let's say you were more conservative and you only put $300,000 in a real estate investment trust, and you're getting that type of a cash flow. However, what if your rate of return or dividend from the real estate investment trust dropped from 7% to 3%? What that means is on the other $300,000 that you have, remember she did inherit $600,000 when her mom died, the rate of return on that would have to jump to 11% to make up the deficit. And that's just not possible in virtually any investment, stock dividend, bond, or whatever. All right, so that didn't work. Second advisor they went to said, well, why don't you lend out money to these small-time investors that fix and flip houses? Because the real estate recession has lasted 5-6 years, but now home prices are starting to recover. Okay, and he said, well, you can lend it out and you get 10% interest. Sounds great, because if you put the whole $600,000 in and you got 10%, that'd be $60,000 a year. Fantastic. However, I've had 30-plus years experience in creative real estate. The fix and flip formula only works in certain parts of the cycle because, guess what? As prices go up, it's harder to find deals on property, and then the margins, profit margins shrink. And I find that many fix and flippers are just small time. They're doing 1, 2, 3 houses. Maybe they do one house a month if they're big time and they got a crew helping them. But guess what? Are you there to supervise? Are you there to really watch what happens? What if they have a bad house where it turns out the foundation is just terrible, and then it's worthless because you can't fix anything on the house because the foundation keeps cracking? Well, then you could lose your investment. And even if it works for a short time, I find the fix and flip formula, anyone that's invested in that, usually it works good for a year, maybe 2 years, but then something changes in the real estate cycle, or the guy's making enough money, the fix and flipper, he says, well, I'll save up my money. I don't need investors, so I don't need to pay 10% interest to anyone. So that's not a long-time formula because this couple is 58 and we want something that lasts at least 30 years to take them through the rest of their life. Well, third advisor said, put it in the stock market. He said, well, the dividend rates are only, on average in the stock market, maybe 2%, but you should be able to get 5% capital appreciation and average 7% per year. Well, actually, many mutual fund and wrap account fees are 3% a year, so you'd actually have to make 10% a year, minus the 3% annual fees to net the 7%. Well, people in the stock market and the brokers, say, oh, you can make that much money, but not really. If you actually look at what the results are, that's why it's called the lost decade and now the lost 13 years, where the stock market today is basically about where it was 10 or 13 years ago. Well, these were 3 suggestions from 3 different financial advisors. What was the Dr. Wong plan? The Dr. Wong plan was actually very simple, and it was much safer. First of all, I said, you've got to cut your spending. Instead of spending $6,000 a month, spend $5,000 a month. Oh, they didn't like to hear that. The next thing I said, take half of that $600,000 and deposit $300,000 in a personal pension plan. And in 12 years, it's going to generate $38,600 a year guaranteed for the rest of your life. And hold off on the husband and him taking Social Security until at least 66 or 70, because he's going to get a lot more than if he takes it early at 62. Now, with the other $300,000, that'll be enough to fund any cash flow deficit they have until they trigger their lifetime income. So think about it. This would get them guaranteed enough income to last for the rest of their life if they would just lower their spending from $6,000 to $5,000 a month. Well, guess what? This plan was too old-fashioned for them. They didn't become a client. They didn't want to listen to old-fashioned common sense. And we find that a lot, particularly with baby boomers. And that's why sociologists call the baby boomers the me generation, the now generation. And unfortunately, they also call them the selfish generation. In other words, it's all about me. Well, all I can say is that the old-fashioned financial plan of not spending too much, making sure your life savings is safe, and getting a high rate of cash flow that's guaranteed for the rest of your life, these are old-fashioned concepts that the greatest generation went through because they love Social Security. They love pension plans, and many of them had them from their employer, and they learned to live under their means. Well, that's all for today. If you want to find out more about retirement, baby boomer issues, go to my blog site, drwonginvestorguide.com.